We can start, and good evening and welcome again. We are very happy to see you all in here. We are at a Journal Club event, which is conducted by Psychodrama.World team and with collaboration Psychodrama.World team and FEPTO Research Committee. So it's a joint event, and we are very happy to see you all in here. We have a very special guest today, Dr. Hanan El-Mazahy. So I'm very happy to introduce with you, Hanan. So maybe before start, I just want to say about your past, your personal history, and also professional history. So, Dr. Hanan El-Mazahy, she is trained in psychodrama, the Therapeutic Spiral Model, in addition to DBT and EMDR. She practices play therapy and art therapy with children, adults in family and community contexts. Her research interests are in psychodrama, EMDR, telemedicine, and artificial intelligence. She developed the Psychodrama Games technique, which is culturally dictated structured model of psychodrama with children. So she will share her valuable insights on how psychodrama can be a powerful tool in child therapy. So we are truly honored to have with you, Hanan. So the floor is yours.
Thank you, Inash. Thank you, everybody, and thank you to speak to you all and meet you all. And since we are talking about psychodrama, we are not going to start with a presentation. Can we start with psychometry? And in the chat, if you are a psychodramatist or have a psychodrama background, please write yes in the chat. If you are interested, please write interested in the chat. Wow, that's interesting and a good peek to see everybody here. So if you work with children, please say you work with children, or if you work with adults or other communities, please, write, whether you work with children, adults, or who do you work with. That's great. That's great. So our last question is, do you like playing? If you like playing yourself, please write yes. If you don't, I don't know what to say. Thank you. So at least that's something that we all agree on. We all like playing. That's a great thing. Okay, so we are going to start and we are going to, all this is about play. It does sound, very organized and fancy, but at the end of the day, it is about playing. Somebody doesn't like playing. Okay, where are you, Roger? You don't like playing, Roger? Not any games?
I wrote not always.
Ah, yes, but sometimes you do.
Sometimes I do, and sometimes I prefer to just sit and listen and look.
Yeah, you will get a very good share of sitting and listening and looking, I'm sure, I hope. Okay, but the subject is about playing, but it is going to be serious if you were wondering about that. So let's start, and I'm going to share my presentation. You see it?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, so we are going to talk about engaging children in psychodrama. Okay, how to keep them engaged. it is the subject of my first paper in psychodrama. We're going to discuss it. That's the one that was attached, but we're going to also discuss in short some of my other work in psychodrama and other papers. So we're going to talk about the place where we work, the people, the emotions, the time, the structure, the action, and the future. So the place is Alexandria, Egypt. That's where I come from. And Alexandria was founded by Alexander the Great in 331 before Christ. So it's relatively new compared to the rest of Egypt. That's new for us, okay? It had and still retains strong cosmopolitan tastes and views. It is the largest city on the Mediterranean Sea, currently extending 40 kilometers on the north and east of Egypt, with a population of 6.1 million people in 2023, so we're now more. And it is the second largest city in Egypt after Cairo. You see here, the Alexandria Lighthouse was one of the world's wonders. This is Alexandria now. You see, we have most of the city is formed of very large buildings like that. And you see this bridge is over the Mediterranean. This is a new bridge in 2000, and it has a specific architectural type from old times. From this palace, it's called the Palace of Muntaza, was one of the king of Egypt before we had a a republic, and it was designed by an Italian architect. So we like reviving old and things, and we love the cosmopolitan taste here in Alexandria. This is also a view of the citadel of Alexandria, and we have the eastern harbor. You see the small ships, okay? This is the fun shipping harbor, and on the left side is the main commercial harbor. And we also in Alexandria have two sides, like this side for having fun and hobbies, and a very serious side on the other. Also, this was the site of the Alexandria Lighthouse. And this is me at the citadel. This is a view of the city from the sea, and you see all those minarets. This area is the minarets of the Sufi sheikhs of Alexandria. So if you know about Sufism, we had some of the very important Sufi leaders of the whole world, and they are in Alexandria directly by the sea. Also, we had the Library of Alexandria, and the Library of Alexandria has been refounded again on the same site now. This was the old design of it. So this is the density of the people in Egypt. If we are going to speak the place and the people, you see here, like for example, India, and we are in very many ways as crowded as India. You see here our color is orange because Egypt, we are all densely around the River Nile, okay? So it's not like we are occupying the whole of Egypt. We are only centered near the Nile, and Alexandria is the orange bit on the left, okay? If we compare ourselves to Germany, and we are going to have some comparisons with Germany and India today. So you're seeing here, Germany is almost highly populated as well, but it's not like, people are only concentrated in one place like Egypt. India, on the other hand, is also mostly densely populated, the whole place, not like us. We have a very special distribution of people. So we are going to talk about the people themselves that we work with, and half of them of the Egyptian population are children and adolescents aged 0 to 24 years of old. So half of our people, that's 50 million children and adolescents. And this is our population pyramid. We are a young population. We also have refugees. Some of them are even unaccompanied. After all, what's happening in the world around us, Egypt has become a hub for, we don't even call them refugees in Egypt, and they're not concentrated anywhere. They are, mixed with everybody. So to talk about the general health of the population of Egypt, there is one known marker of health is the under 5 mortality rate. Okay, so in Egypt, we have the mortality rate is higher in Upper Egypt. That's nearer, south. Okay. Then Lower Egypt is better, and of course, urban areas are have almost half of the mortality rate of the other places. Frontier governments receive more care and also are very lightly populated, so they have better healthcare. At the end of the day, if we look at what was happening in Egypt, in the past, you see this is the column for Egypt compared to other African countries. In the 1960s, we had a very high under 5 mortality that has improved through the years up to 2019. You see now we have a smaller number compared to other African countries. And compared to the whole world, if you see the map of the whole world, the numbers are the average of most people is between 15 and 25. That's what we get in our lower Egypt area, and even our urban governorates are even a little bit better. On the other hand, 34% of our children in the lowest wealth quintiles are on track in the literacy numeracy domain, and 58% of the ones who are wealthy enough are only 58% of them are on track. Only 20% of the children are enrolled in pre-primary education, and children aged 3 to 4 years who are developmentally on track in literacy and numeracy by mother's education in Egypt, 53% of the mothers who have secondary education children would be on track, and the mother education, of course, affects very much this developmental tract. However, the level of postnatal care for newborn is increasing from 14% in 2014 to 75%, 77% now. So we can say that we are, globalization, lots of things for mothers to learn, lots of things to learn about the caring for the children is improving rapidly now. The therapists, on the other hand, part of the group, so this was a poster presentation that we had on the graduation of our first batch of psychodramatists in Egypt who had, formal education with total number of training days, 59 and 588 hours. This was sponsored by the IAG. Here, you can see me in the pictures, and also lots of our colleagues who some of them worked in the work that we're discussing here in the groups. We had lots of people. AGP, we had Jorgi Burmeister, we had, I don't know if you can see him, he's in the down left part of the picture, Mauricio Gassot, Marsha Karp, we had also Eva Folström-Borg from Sweden, and we had lots of people actually come and help us with, learning about psychodrama and practicing it. We had also from Egypt, this was sponsored by Dr. Mona Rakhawi, maybe some of you have met her, and Dr. Noha Sabri. These were the EAGT organizers from Egypt. And it was huge fun, by the way. We really had fun. I was also introduced in psychodrama to the Therapeutic Spiral Model, TSM, by Kate Hudgens, and you see Ina here from here. Josh is also here, and lots of other people, not everybody was in the picture, but TSM was introduced to me in a very interesting way by another fellow psychodramatist from Egypt who told me you will like TSM very much because it's very structured. So today I'm going to talk about how I like this structure and how I like to use it. So my training in TSM started during COVID time, and all of it was online, and I reached the level of certification of trained auxiliary, and I've done different levels in TSM, and I'm still working at it. So what did I do as a training? I graduated Faculty of Medicine, Alexandria University, that's in the year 2000. That's why I'm interested in AI and telemedicine. It's because in the year 2001, I became an Oracle developer, and I actually developed software for my outpatient clinic. So I do, work in that field from very long time ago. And I also worked with street children. So I did different things. In 2006, I got Master of Pediatrics, specializing in neurodevelopmental disorders, because at the time in 2004, when I started my training, there was no child psychiatry training in Alexandria. I wanted to become a child psychotherapist. This was not very common. We had more biological school in Alexandria. So there wasn't really a program for that or a program for child psychiatry to start with. So I started with pediatrics, where the children were. I thought, it's better to learn something about children than, go and learn about adults. I then got a diploma of public health, working as a child protection officer in child protection agencies. 2009 as a child. Between 2010 2015, I practiced behavioral therapy, play therapy, also found a mentor, someone to talk to me about psychotherapy. So before 2010, I did not have anybody to talk to about child psychotherapy at all. And I started also my psychodrama training. All this I did in Cairo, Alexandria, where I lived. It wasn't there. It's very changed now, a very changed place. So in 2016, I became DBT certified, obtained a PhD in mental health, and trained in the Egyptian 4-steps dynamic therapy model, which is also based on our culture. And in 2018, I became certified as a psychodramatist. 2019 started EMDR training, and 2020 I started TSM training online. And from 2023 to now, I'm focusing on telemedicine and AI, and the journey, I hope, continues. So this is a work in progress, what I'm going to present, and I think it's going to show how the progress has been going on. So the emotions, what are the emotions that we have in this group? To start with, in Egypt, 83% of children aged to 1 and 14 are exposed to violent disciplinary methods. This is according to UNICEF. 28% experience severe physical punishment, and only 9% experience non-violent disciplinary methods. However, this is not very, different from the world. I think this study only focused on some countries, so not everybody is represented, but you see Egypt is one of the darkest colors, so we do use harsh methods with children here. In this study, the majority of countries studied had more than 2 in 3 children subjected to violent discipline by caregivers. So we are talking about a level of problems and emotions that goes beyond, of course, children who are not exposed to this. This is a very interesting study that I was, starting to tell you about. It is called the Parenting Strategies Across Cultural Comparison, and it compares Germany to India. And I told you in the beginning that we do have lots in common with India. Of course, we always know that, parenting below the equatorial line or peri-equatorial, people are more warm. So here you see the proximal parental style or being warm and near is more in India than compared to Germany. In Germany, it's the distal parenting style. There's also more. So if you compare relational socialization and goals to the autonomous socialization goals, you see that in India, they are more interested in relational socialization goals than autonomous goals, while in Germany, they're more interested in autonomous socialization goals. With a clear difference, so you can see the autonomous conversational style in Germany is much higher than the relational conversational style. In India, you have some autonomous conversational style, but emphasis on the relational conversational style, meaning that when you're talking to the children, when you're expecting to talk to you, they are talking more about relations than talking about the self or the person, which would, really affect what we're going to talk about in the psychodrama styles. Also, when playing with children, parents in Germany are more focused on didactic play than autonomous play versus didactic play, where in India, it's more focused about, stories or games or things that you want the children to learn something from, versus being autonomous play that is, starting basically from the children on expressing themselves more. So since we're talking about engaging children, this also a study from the, our CAPMAS, and it is replicated. CAPMAS is our, agency that does the census, and it asked about children aged 2 to 4 years who were engaged in 4 or more stimulating activities. In the figure on the left, it's by wealth quantiles, and interestingly, you see, or maybe you don't see, there is a very small figures in the gray. These are the fathers who are engaging the children. Okay, so not a very big difference with wealth, but you see the mother's engagement and any adult engagement increasing significantly with wealth. On the other hand side, the mother's education, still the number of activities that are engaging of to the children are more, but more, of course, in the according to the wealth. How we compare to the world is the very interesting thing. So we see here this figure says percentage of children aged 24 to 59 months who are engaged in 4 or more activities for early stimulation and responsive care by any adult household member in the last 3 days. So you see here that the countries with the highest prevalence, okay, these are in the yellow in the upper part, and in the violet color is the countries with the lowest prevalence. So the average, weighted average, is in the middle, and the average is in general between 50 and 60. So for us in Egypt, parts, so the upper wealth quantiles and the upper educational quantiles, we go with the average of the world, okay? We do not go near the higher countries where they are offered more engaging activities. And this is, of course, is very important because it means that they are not often engaged by the adults. So let's talk a bit about the time, the past, the present, and the future. So time, the past of psychodrama. Psychodrama as a term was first used by Moreno in 1919 in the Gardens of Vienna. You see the Gardens of Vienna. He first started observing how children play, how children were playing without interfering in their play. He was looking at how they were playing. However, psychodrama may have been practiced in ancient Egyptian temples, or at least some of the ideas where sorcerers dramatize desired events. Okay? The practice still lives in the form of the Tsar dance, where at a point the leader in the group, was called the Kodia, encourages the devil inside the victim to leave her. The Tsar encourages emotional expression using the whole body and following the music of the drums in a group therapy format. In modern Egypt, Alexandria may have been the first place where modern psychodrama, as described by Moreno, was also practiced, as evidenced by the paper by Samuel Tadros published in 1956, Spontaneity Training at the Dora Institute, Alexandria, Egypt. I've been trying to follow up and trying to find out about that, psychodramatist who trained with Moreno and came to Alexandria, and asked lots of people, include Marsha Karp. I thought maybe anybody would have heard of him, and I'm still looking for news for that fellow pioneer, but I haven't up till now managed to do that. So it is still part of the very, glorious past that we're not really connecting with. So let's talk about the structure. So we have a continuum of structure within children's psychodramas. Okay, we go to more structure when we have inpatient settings, heterogeneity, time factors that are not very settled. And maybe one example of that would be the storytelling technique by Rebecca Waters. And this, by the way, this idea of a continuum was proposed by Rebecca Waters. If you know, she's also a child psychodramatist. We had an intervision group, Fabian Blobel here and Inonch is here, people who were working with children using psychodrama. Less structure would be outpatient, close, homogeneous for a complete year. They have a strict time boundary. The German model with Eichinger et al. Okay, it's also published, and it is much less structured. In the middle would be our model of psychodrama games. That would be outpatient, heterogeneous open group, and that's a psychodrama games. So we can see here that the more structured the patients, the more less structure that we need, okay, besides the bit of the culture that we just spoke about, but also the nature of the children and the nature of the group and the setting affect whether we can use very open techniques or not. Storytelling technique is very, they use a story, and the leader of the group assigns the roles to the children. So they are assigned the role, and they know the story, and they know what to do and what to say. It's, at the end, it's within the story. It is a fairy tale, and they go within the story. On the other hand, Eichinger et al., every child decides what they want to be. One child wants to be a fox, one child wants to be a cat, one child wants to be a soldier. Every child decides what they want to be. And then the leader tries to integrate all this, and the children try to integrate together. Psychodrama games, on the other hand, is different because we have something that connects them all, and sometimes we have someone assigning the roles, but the role assignment is usually done by the children. They assign each other roles, not the leader Or we have a scenario where they know what they would do, but they are free to do what they do. So they have a role that, because the story is clear, so we're going to hear more about it in coming time. But at the end of the day, we are talking about the level of structuring. So you either leave the children to do whatever they want, almost whatever they want. And Eichinger called psychodramas that are structured canned goods. Okay, so maybe you need more canned goods or maybe more prepared things when you are working with inpatient settings or difficult patients or different age groups as well. Like our groups had different age groups. So also talking about structure from TSM, this is called the TSIRA, the internal role atom of any human being. And in the TSIRA, you see here the trauma triangle. Trauma triangle in the TSM is different from the other trauma triangle. Not perpetrator and victim, yes, but instead of the bystander, here is the abandoning authority. Okay. And there is a very clear structure which has really attracted me to TSM. You have here on the left-hand side, you have how you prepare to face the trauma. So in contrast to other psychodramas where you really directly go to the trauma triangle in most cases, in TSM, you look at preparing the protagonist or protagonists for that triangle by using strength, by using body double, manager of defenses, observing ego, and then you try to activate the AHC, which is Autonomous Healing Center, and you try to reach the post-traumatic growth, where you would have a good enough parent, appropriate authority, sleeping, awakening child, and also ultimate authority at the end of the day. So it is like a roadmap and a very clear structure to me, which is, for me, was very attractive to try to incorporate that in play. This is still the TSIRA, Trauma Survivor Internal Role Atom. And then let's talk about the action as psychodramatist. So this is the place where I practice. It's a small office, small space, okay? And lots of toys. Some children used to call this a toy store because of all, don't see the rest of the toys here, but there are lots of toys on the left-hand side and on the right as well. So we used to play regular group games and some games that are not prepared for groups. So for example, as warm-ups, and even before we started psychodrama, we used to play board games. You see here chess. We play chess as a group game. So we'd have 4 kids white, 4 kids black, and then, playing against each other. And of course, not at all following chess rules. Okay, and it was huge fun and everybody liked it a lot. And also it showed lots of, characteristics and personalities of children who want to play the regular way and, trying to agree on which piece to move. So that was very interesting group play and using the tools that we had. We also played lots of more known games. I don't know if you recognize any of these games. They are not particularly Egyptian in any way. We also played Egyptian group games, so games that are played by children in playgrounds. So, and I have found out that most of these games are usually international games. So we call them Egyptian games, but most of the games, for example, the Fox Goes Round is actually most probably a British game, or it's an international thing, like, the fairy tales have prototypes, as Young says. I think there is also a prototype for children games. So we found out that most of the games that we play, we call Egyptian games, are also present in other places in the world. So why did we start the game to start with, to start the group? So the need to start the group was because, parents who have complaints about the children, they have ADHD, they have autism, depression, anxiety, OCD, or have suffered traumatic life events. That's the parents' complaints, and they come and, talk about symptoms. However, children themselves will be more interested in the effect of their problems or in relationships with their peers. So usually what really hurts the kids is, the reflection and the effect of what happened to them on their relationships with peers. Many of them verbalize the problem of having no friends to play with unasked. Others state that it's a problem when asked. Okay? So that's why we started the group, because, the children really, really needed to learn how to make friends. So children prioritize the problem of having no friends at the top of their list and welcome the opportunity to join a group. That was the stated, purpose of the group, where they can play with other children of their age. So we did not, in the beginning, I had groups before starting psychodrama training. Okay, we introduced the children to the group by saying that you can come and learn how to play with other kids without having problems. And for the kids who were, more shy, timid, anxious, okay, this was very welcome. Other kids who were more on the active side, who usually got reprimanded and punished at school and everywhere for their behavior with other kids, also welcomed the idea of being able to play and be welcomed by children. So this group was held once weekly for an hour in the evening. We had several groups, by the way, not just one, set in the clinic for child and adolescent mental health. It was held every week, including groups for ages 4 to 7, so very young children as well. And there was another one for ages 7 to 13, which is a very wide age range compared to other, for example, the groups with Eichinger et al., they have very small range of children, maybe all the children would be age 10 or something like that. We had to do this because of, organizational reasons, not because we think it's better to have children playing between 7 and 13. But on the other hand, it's useful because, they usually have siblings, they play with other children, and they start to learn how to play with different age groups. And also it was very useful. We found it to be very useful because some children, although chronologically they are 10, but developmentally they are 7 or 8. Okay, and the opposite also happens. So it helped a lot to have children of different developmental levels besides the chronological levels. So it helped us more help them integrate and find people where they can, really relate to. We had separate girls group for ages 7 to 13, but the 4 to 7 groups were mixed, and we had tried this separate girls group for a while, not for a long time, and we found that it affected the energy of the group a lot. So the girls group energy was much lower than the group with only boys. So we abandoned that idea of having separate groups for girls and boys at all ages. So this is a description of what you find in the paper, Engaging Children in Psychodrama, Adult versus Child Techniques. And this is the paper that you were sent. That was Engaging Children in Psychodrama, Appropriateness of Technique to Child Development. So we were looking at child development, that I was talking about. And child development here is not only about chronological age, but we also had in the group children with neurodiversity, so children who are in the autism spectrum, children who had ADHD, and how we can integrate them in play. They have problems doing imaginative play. Some of them do not have enough patience to play. And then after that, we started developing the psychodrama groups. So psychodrama games with children is a process in which children learn to play a new game in which there may be a single or multiple protagonists and using psychodramatic techniques. When children play the game repeatedly, they have a chance to improve their social skills and act out impulses that come out with each round of the game. I'm going to go back here a bit. You see here, they are these scenarios from before we started the psychodrama games. We tried different methods of working. So in the facial injuries drama, for example, in that drama, one child came in with his face all scratched up, okay? And he shared with the group that he was, hit by another kid in the school. So we had a drama with this, and all the children got really, really involved, and we used adult techniques in this drama, and it really worked because all the children were very engaged. They were very warmed up to, by his face, and they all wanted to know what happened, and they also knew from before the story. That child's story was a very interesting one. He had ADHD, okay, and he was failing in all classes, and he was a bully, and he had friends who were bullies, and he was doing really badly in school, behaviorally and academically and everything. And then he came in, and we started him. We did, parental education and consultation with his parents. and we also gave him ADHD medication. So after that, he was a changed person, really changed. He started, performing excellently in, excellence in academics. And the teacher started, praising him. He stopped bullying other kids. He was a changed person. So in that psychodrama, he had shared before that his old friend, who is still a bully, who still hits other kids, wanted him to go back to his old ways. So really, it is in many ways an adult theme, okay? But the children were able to engage very much with that scene because maybe, in my opinion, because of all the injuries on his face, okay? So that carried up from the beginning to the end with everybody really concentrating, focusing, and sharing. And children in the drama used, and in this drama and in other dramas as well, they use techniques like doubling and role reversal spontaneously without any of the directors, asking them to do that. In another dramatization, we had the shop with magic, which is a little bit like the magic shop psychodrama thing, okay? But because the magic shop is about, characteristics which needs a higher developmental level, many of the children from the beginning of that, when we were talking about buying love, buying patience, buying any of these qualities, they got disinterested and, just quit the circle and just went, playing in the corners with other toys and, totally ignored what we were saying. So that was a very big failure of engagement. On another hand, we tried, that was the beginning of the precursor of letting the children, play with roles. So we started the kids playing with masks, you see in this picture, and taking on roles and trying to ask other children to take on roles by, asking every other child to take on masks that they give to them, okay? And then each child can be the king or queen and have a crown. And when they are the king or queen, they can transform other kids. So in this scenario, they were able to assign roles to the other children who had problems speaking, who were shy, who were even had very big problems in relating to other children. They gave them roles that were very suitable. So for example, one of the children, they gave the role of a sleeping princess or a sleeping person to a child with autism who could not really play and, reciprocate the play. So they still included that child, but with a role that suited her. And this was without any of the directions of the director. So, children do these things only spontaneously. So after having tried, these techniques and after the masks game specifically, we started thinking of the psychodrama games. So psychodrama games, we have the idea of single or multiple protagonists. Even if a single protagonist, they are sequential. So it's not like, the Shop with Magic episode, we had one protagonist for the whole duration of the group. Also, the facial injuries drama, we had one protagonist for the whole duration of the group, but very different levels of engagement because different levels of warm-up, and also the subject can be very affecting the children, whether they will get engaged or not. So we either have a single protagonist and then they are sequential, or at the same time, a number of protagonists, multiple protagonists. And we use psychodrama techniques. So the idea of the psychodrama game is that the same game is played repeatedly. That's the thing that's new here. So when you play the same game repeatedly, if, for example, the child does not reach resolution in the first time, they may reach it in another enactment of the game. And if the child does not have enough resources to, reach resolution, another child playing the game may win in front of him or her, and then they can find out what resources they need to face the same problem. And in, later on in actions of the game, they do it. This is also the idea of the psychodrama games came from the children. So it's not, because, the children, if now the children like watching gamers, if any of you knows about that, please write in the chat, that they watch other children playing video games or adults playing video games and winning them to know how to win in the video games. Any of you have come across this? It is very well known now, children and adolescents, that's the thing that they love most, many of them, to watch instead of watching episodes, films, movies. No, they want to watch other children playing games to find out how they can improve their own game. So this is what we are trying to replicate here, that they can play the game repeatedly, and if one of the kids succeeds in passing this game, the other kids, can learn also. They have a chance to improve their social skills, and also they can act out impulses that come out with each round of the game. So for children, Psychodrama first started with Moreno, who was playing in the gardens of Vienna, like we all know, and Moreno noticed some things. He noticed that children make natural sociometric choices in play, and also that spontaneity and creativity principle may be observed in the creative expression of children at play. They do play creatively, even when children are playing, games that are, traditional games, you still see the creativity and spontaneity. And also children's unconscious aggressions are acted out in play. So Moreno's theories about psychodrama with children are that personality can be changed. And of course, this is a well-settled thing. Personality, it can change up until 18, and who knows, maybe even more. Personality can be taught to expand itself, and that the child's ego may be boosted, which is, we see day to day. The child can be taught more flexibility in coping with the problems of life, and they learn that spontaneously. In our groups, we help, it's like a catalyst. We help, we give them the chance to play. This is another thing that I did not talk about. Our children in Egypt have very limited time to play together, because this age group the children who can afford to come to private practice for therapy, they usually are involved in after-school activities like sports and remedial teaching. So they have very little time to play with other children. So the idea of going to a place to just play is a very, very welcome opportunity for them. And so just, giving them the chance is like 50% or more of the work, more than what we as directors do. So we are, like enablers, facilitators for the real thing to happen. And also children learn about themselves and about their society, thus enabling them to play the roles more effectively. So they get to know about their own society if they play games with other children from the same society with elements of the society that they are living in, not, for example, our children now are playing lots of video games. Many of them, these video games are not culturally appropriate, or some of them are, from different cultures with different names, different places, and different problems as well from what we have. For example, here in Egypt, just a very small example, we always talk about children playing violent games. So in Egypt, the violence is not using firearms. Most of our violence is using, knives. Okay, so they don't even get prepared to the sort of violence that they will really see on the street playing those games. So psychodrama is a therapeutic process involving the acting out of certain rules and dramatic incidents in situations that produce problems or conflicts for children in their daily lives. Sociodramatic play, on the other hand, is an advanced form of symbolic play in which groups of children plan and carry out cooperative dramatizations centered about a familiar theme. So we are nearer sociodramatic play than psychodrama play, but the idea is that we repeat it. The idea is that the new thing is the repetition of it. Usually psychodramas are done once, okay? But ours is, just a repetition of the same thing. So fully developed sociodramatic play contains 5 elements: role playing, which is pretending to be a fireman, for example; make-believe transformations, like we did with the masks game, where you can transform people to become something else; social interaction, which is very important here; verbal communication; and persistence, or the ability to carry out a play theme from beginning to end, which is also very important for many of the children who cannot do that. So psychodrama games with children is a process in which children learn to play a new game in which there may be a single or multiple protagonists, okay? And when children play the game repeatedly, they have a chance to improve social skills. We said that. And psychodrama games with children developed after attempting the German method of psychodrama with children, in which each child creates a role and then they all play together with the roles, and also after attempting to use adult psychodrama methods. Okay, so we tried those methods, and really didn't work with our groups, was very difficult. The potential of this type of play was observed, but it was difficult to organize the children into playing cooperatively. And children who have problems playing imaginatively were at a loss. So also we speak in the paper about, our Egyptian educational system not really fostering imagination to start with. So it's not easy for the children to imagine the whole thing and then carry out something that is really in the imagination without any solid ground, something solid on the ground. Also, many of our children are not encouraged to play and to start with. They are encouraged to become adults very quickly. So the idea of playing and, really imagining things is not as close, I think, as in other cultures. So for psychodrama games to develop, we had to fulfill the following purposes: provide familiar framework for children's imagination. So we wanted to foster their imagination, but we wanted that imagination to grow on a frame. If you imagine, for example, the ivy, so we have a frame for the ivy to climb on. We don't just leave the ivy to crawl wherever without a frame to be built on. And we abolished the boredom associated with a single protagonist. We also allow children with less creative powers to develop their creativity and imagination when the same game is played repeatedly. Also, children enjoy a game and can later enjoy other games with children outside the therapy room. So they learn, the emotional idea of being close and playing with other children and how to respect boundaries and how to be in a group with other children. And the idea of constant repetition of experiences characterize child rearing lessons everywhere. So the idea of repetition is not new here. The idea of repetition is a core thing in, teaching children anything. So here is an example of one of the games. And also this game is inspired by an online game. So the inspiration for the mayor's game is a game that I myself used to play online. I like playing video games and all other types of games myself. So this game is inspired by a game that's called SimCity. And it's an electronic game in which a single player chooses a terrain of uninhabited land and starts building roads, houses, power supplies, and provides services to attract residents. In order to keep the residents in the mayor, in the SimCity, has to follow the polls and see what residents needs and provide them with it, while at the same time keeping an eye on expenses and necessities. Okay, so that's the online game. In the Mayor City game, our game, we ask the protagonist to use a piece of fabric or a scarf to create a main street, and then they can use their other pieces of fabric or scarves to create houses, schools, shops, and other businesses. Then they assign roles to the other children while negotiating with them to make sure they like and accept the role. The protagonist then introduces the daily rhythm of the city, waking up, going to work or school, leisure time, and sleep. Children often introduce scenarios while enacting the rhythm with other children. For example, sometimes children will have, the fight, you fight before you sleep, or they decide that in our city, there's no bedtime, or other children decide in our city, there's no school, okay? In one child decided that in their city, they had a bank and they can distribute money to everybody and they can all go shopping, okay? So they all try to have things to attract the other children, and they also had to negotiate with the other children about the roles. So this is a paper about psychodrama games, a framework for heterogeneous psychodrama groups with children from Egypt. And this paper has details more about, psychodrama games. The challenges that faced the groups, so up till this part, there was no TSM, and we had challenges just, when COVID-19 hit, okay? We had, for COVID-19, we had the biggest problem for these groups was the educational system. So, as detailed in the first paper, engaging children in psychodrama, we have different educational systems in Egypt. So we have different holidays. So we had children who would be absent because they have exams, children who are on holiday, so they left the city. So attendance was very unpredictable. That was our main problem. Also the financial problem, because we are mostly not covered by any insurance. the parents had to be really invested in bringing the children to play, and the children go back home and, talk about having played, which is not exactly the parents' idea about how their children should get therapy. So, the children, going back and, smiling from here to here and, talking about the games they played. Some parents did not really understand, and we had to, really talk to them and, give them these explanations about what we're doing in the group, because it looks like we're playing, and we are actually. That's what we're doing. And the parents had to wait in the waiting room for an hour and, drive in or, use public transportations to come in and then go. And they are not involved in this type of therapy. So, they just, they're a vehicle for transportation for the kids, and they don't really feel their involvement. So these were the challenges before COVID-19. After COVID-19, we had new challenges. So we all stopped all the groups for 3 weeks. We thought 3 weeks was a very long time, but in retrospect, now I'm looking at it, 3 weeks was a very short time. So we restarted again online after having lost a third of the children. The children who we lost were because they had no internet connection. So in the beginning of COVID-19 in Egypt, lots of houses did not have good internet connections that could carry on a video session. We had also challenges for the therapists who were learning and developing new techniques for use with children online groups. We had very scarce info. So, for example, what we did is some of our, graduates from the psychodrama cohort, we met during those first 3 weeks, and we started experimenting with psychodrama tools on each other's online before attempting any of us to return to groups online before. So we tried them on ourselves, and we tried using those tools. But actually, for me, the real learning of how to work online did not come from, my colleagues. It came from the children themselves. So the children taught me, how to use Zoom, how to use the whiteboard, how to use the backgrounds, and how to use lots of other things. They were very good at teaching us and, making things much better for us. The challenges for the children were big. They missed the old group rituals. They were bored. They had fear because of the COVID. They were angry about all the things they lost, and they were frustrated. And we had challenges for the parents who were, wondering also, will this work? So we started to adapt psychodrama and play techniques to online groups for children post-COVID-19. So in the beginning, our main idea was to replicate the face-to-face groups as much as possible. So we had nostalgia for our old ways and our old methods, and we and the children, the therapist and the children, we wanted to, get back what we had. So we tried to play the group games and the active games, which were replaced by active mindfulness exercises that were especially needed at the time. And if you remember, the beginnings of the COVID was a time where, filled with anxiety for everybody, not only the children. So, the therapists, we ourselves, we were anxious and afraid. So we were welcomed by the children after their energy level was noted to decrease. So these were some of the active games that were lost. We were not able to play these games online. Okay, so these games we couldn't play. But then we started, finding out that there were other games that we can play online. So we find, for example, Snakes on Ladders online and Monopoly Deal. I'll show you what we did. And also this game with the pins, the colored pins, we managed to do it with the whiteboard. The Monopoly Deal game we had, I hope you can see here, we used the PowerPoint, okay, to share PowerPoint presentation, and then we had the cards and we can move them, and we had the names of the children as if they are in a circle, and some of them we had their photos also, but I'm covering the photos with those blue ovals, okay? So each child on turn can ask for, a card to be played, and then we move the card according to what they say. But they can also all see the other cards, and they had money and things to buy. So we had, this was a real attempt to get what we had before. So Monopoly Deal game was very popular with all the children before the COVID-19. So that's why they asked for it so much. We tried to make it work, and they still liked it. It was actually not a very successful game if you think of it, but because of the emotional level attached to it, that we can still do what we used to do, they were still very engaged with it. Then we started, thinking, and I think that was a very important landmark for us, milestone, is the news show. So the news show was not a replication of any previous game. Okay, and after that game, we started thinking that we need to think of games and interventions that are specifically designed for the online environment, and to stop trying to get all the old stuff and try to do them online, whichever way they would. So the news show was about an outlet for the COVID-19 related ideas and emotions. It also helped in the beginning of online groups by allowing all children to participate in the act of talking, even if they did not talk. So they could be the director, script writer, or simply hold the light. So, if you remember the times of the COVID, the news were very disturbing. Every day they would say how many fatalities there were, how many people were being, how many cities were closed. It was all very disturbing news. And the children were very disturbed by that. So we decided to have a news show in the group, okay, to get out all the feelings and, all the ideas and whatever was happening with them in the beginning of the group. So the news show was a very good chance also for children to, try to swipe roles, so you can be the director today and you can be something else tomorrow. And we welcome having two directors, script writers, no problem. And we had very quiet, anxious children. They could, pretend that they are, the light, and ask the other children to move your face in front of the light. And that was the end of the role. Okay. And at the end of the day, we had a production of a news show in the group. So this was very suitable to the online environment, and it also showed us the necessity for the online environment to have things that were designed for it and to stop, looking for the old things. So we developed the Island game, which was also an adaptation of the Mayor's game, but, in a different way and really for the online environment. It offered an empty terrain as well, but it had multiple protagonists. And it aimed to help the children organize their ideas and emotions and also tackle the question of survival. So you see here the island, and we only gave the children three, for example, a piece of wood, a piece of metal, and some seeds, and they can decide what the seeds were, and they can decide what to do with the wood and what to do with the metal. And the idea, we don't say it, but if you were, shipwrecked on an island, you are really looking for survival, which was what we really needed during the COVID times. And the children engaged very much in this game, and they can act out on this terrain whatever they want. They can go fight, they can go play, they can be peaceful, and they can decide to have borders. And but at the end of the day, the scenario is set. We are going to play this game. This is also other enactments of the island game. This was played on the whiteboard of the Zoom, okay? And as I told you, we learned, using the techniques of the whiteboard in the beginning from the children themselves. So this is a book chapter in this book, the Virtual Therapy Circle. It's called Online Psychodrama Groups with Children, okay? And in this chapter, I talk about all the techniques that are used to really use online groups with children online. So we were talking about time. So we talked about the past and Moreno, the present, what we were doing and other people are doing in the present. And for the future, we are talking about the marriage. So the marriage of Psychodrama Games and TSM results in this baby. This baby is the TSM game. Thank you very much. And, we can tell you more, tell you more about the TSM game, which is, still a baby, still trying to develop. And it is an online game. And we're really hoping that it works. And thank you all for your attention. And we'll now, return to Ines for.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your rich presentation. And now we have 25 minutes, maybe some questions, some comments.
I think it is a nice idea what you did. Make games with children and then get them to change their behavior or give them insights. I think it is very nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, lovely how you developed that after COVID. So new online usage of games. I like that, and I know a bit about the TSM game, and I like that too.
Actually, you are developing it with us, TSM works in teams. So the TSM game is being developed by a team. Ina is one part of it. Josh also is here today, and lots of other people.
Any questions about working with children?
Is there in Egypt more, is psychodrama more used for children than for adults?
No. For adults, much more than children, just
Oh,
like everywhere else, I think.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you say something in your article about stages of development, and I wonder, like, do you develop games according to these stages, or I think in your article you said like they have to be close to the last stage of development.
Yeah, that's, when we used adult techniques, okay, we found out that, they have to be near according to Erickson, they have to be, really, beyond the concrete phase of thinking, where they want to see the thing, for example, I'm playing with a ball and I'm giving you the ball and you can hold the ball in your hands. But, the idea of you being courageous because you can hold the ball is more developed. So, the more you talk about emotions, the more you talk about, of course, children feel the emotions, but talking about them and understanding concepts, okay, in the concept, for example, of buying courage or of buying, care, these ideas need a developmental level that is appropriate, and it's not only chronological, it is, more related to how the children develop. This is what you happen when you talk to a child, Ina, okay? And you think, some children sound like they are older than their age. So they, when you talk to them, you think that they understand some of what you're saying, while other children, they sound like they are younger than their age. And this is not related to intelligence. So a child may be doing very well academically, but they may function at a lower developmental level of emotions. And they can all be normal. It's not, doesn't mean that they have any abnormalities. It can be a normal phenomenon.
Okay.
I can have a suggestion if, we have no more questions. I can have you try a bit of the Psychodrama Games.
Yeah, of course. Please.
Would you want to do that?
Why not?
Okay. So I'll share a whiteboard. Did you see the whiteboard?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So here we have an island. Okay. And it is divided by a frontier. Okay. So in this northern island, we have wood. Okay. And because we have trees, and those trees grow apples. Okay. And in the other part of the world, we have orange trees. and we have metal. Okay. So we are going to play this game. You either decide to be in the area where you live in the northern part or the southern parts. Okay. But we also have another line of demarcation here. If you decide to live on this side, you can change goods with the southern part. But if you live on this side, you only have the wood and the apples, or you have the metal and the oranges, and you cannot exchange goods with the other side. So we can all start to draw ourselves. You can draw yourself and decide where you will be. On this side where you're going to have trades, or on the other side without trade. So this side, if I'm here like this, I cannot trade. But I'm not going to be here. Mhm. So how is it for the people living near the apples who do not trade? Do you like it?
Can you ask again?
There are people who are living in the areas where they cannot trade with the apples and the oranges. Do you like it? Do you like not being able to trade?
No.
So you can move if you want to. You can live here, or you can move. If you don't like where you live, you can change where you live.
Aha.
Mm. And the
How-
people who are trading, do you like the idea of having apples and oranges at the same time?
Yeah, I like to trade.
Did you do anything with the wood and the nails? Did you decide to build anything with the woods and the nails?
No, I wanted to make a comment. Who wants apples?
Me.
You want apples? I can
Yes.
play you with oranges.
Well, I have oranges, but I don't know how to bring them over.
Ah, give them to me. I can trade them for apples.
Okay, let's check. Okay.
So I'm a shop.
I'm really slow here with the phone. Don't know how to. Aha.
If you see, there is a ship approaching and it has a pirate flag approaching the island.
No,
Arr.
where is my gun?
I've
If you live with
metal.
the apples, you only have wood.
I have metal, but I don't know how to paint. I lost my painting possibilities. Ah, here they are. Ah,
I have oranges. Can I trade that for the metal? Who is having the metal?
I have the metal definitely here.
Yeah, so but you are also the one with the oranges.
Yeah, I have two. I have both things here.
Oh, who wants to sell me the apples for oranges? So I can make something from the metal.
You are
Mm.
Or maybe
actually have
you need a
actually
long
lost the
stick to
apples,
pick
but
the
you
apples.
lost the apples because the pirates have taken them.
Oh shit.
Ooh. Arr.
Well, I can give you a long spear, and you can make a hole in the pirate ship. Here's the spear at the side.
Ah, yeah. Thanks.
Oh, the ship is taking water. Oh,
Boom! Boom!
And the apples will swim. The apples are swimming, no?
yes, they are
Usually they
swimming.
should.
Oh, the ship is disappearing now.
Is there
Wow.
anybody who can swim? Or make a boat out of the wood?
Anybody can swim in any of the territories?
Yeah, of the island to fetch the apples. Or how do we get the apples now, which are at the water?
No. I have the apples and I have the oranges.
And the
Wow.
metal.
Are you going to save the pirates or are you going to let them drown? There are two pirates up here. What
Oh,
are you going
yeah.
to do with them?
If they have money, let them on the island.
Okay, here they come. And the game can go on, but would you want to stop at this point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Lovely.
So,
Thank you for this practice.
you're welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Before finishing, yeah.
Can I ask again? So you make a story with all those children together, and what happens after they made the story? What do you do then?
The idea is, for example, if the first time I introduced the pirate ship, okay? And by the way, in the island game, we did not have a pirate ship because, the COVID was, in the background. But for you, I introduced the pirate ship. If, for example, the pirate ship wins and the whole island is destroyed, next time we play the game, all the children will know that there will be a pirate ship that's coming and operate, and maybe we will build our weapons first. I was saying that in this game, okay, if it's played again, the children, if they lose the first time, so children are not as good as you. We had Fabian, we had Ina, and they decided to take the initiative and shoot the pirate ship. If on the other hand you were anxious children, or you don't know really what to do, the pirate ship may actually take over the island, take all the apples, take all the oranges, and give you a real hard time. So when this happens, next time when we play our weapons, let's prepare defenses, let's have things to do when the pirate ships come, we know what we'll do. Okay. So that's how they develop their skills, and that's how also they heal on the inside, knowing that they can deal with, threats like this. Yes. You're asking a question.
Fabian?
So does that mean you have an inner story? I mean, you have an inner storyboard which you are slowly developing while the children are organizing their roles, and which you are introducing, and it's a kind of every time the same structure in your head?
Yes, yeah. So there will be no surprises, Fabian. So, it's not like, the game will be always played like this, always the same challenges, always the same resources. Okay. And they have to, use the same resources and also work against the same challenges. In the mayor game, the challenge is with each other. So we don't have an outside challenge, but we have the challenge of, keeping the other children in the game pleased. So they know from the very beginning that that's what they need to do. This was one of the biggest challenges. So, we had also, for example, one of the children asked the mayor to build an airport, and then they all boarded an aeroplane and left the city. And the mayor was left speechless because he didn't know what to do. They all left. Okay. So afterwards, they all learned not to build airports. That's one thing they learned. The other thing they learned that they really needed to, keep them pleased because they left in other ways. So the idea was, to learn how to negotiate with the kids, to, find out that. So this challenge was the only challenge. We do not. So if another child tries, for example, to hit the other children, okay, No, this challenge is not there in the game. In this game, we do not hit each other. So we stay on the theme of the game. Okay, and that's usually what the directors are needed for. But children can choose at any time to go and do something else. But we had also a very big rule in all the games that you cannot hit the other children, because lots of our children you actually come to the group because they are, rather aggressive. You do hit other children very commonly. So we do lots of scenarios that do not include hitting each other. I hope that answers you, Fabian. Okay, so it's a storyline, but it's, it's set and it's repeated also. The idea of repetition.
And do you prepare the theme the children are working on, or how does the theme exist?
We have very different ways. We introduced games according to, situations and common socio-dramatic, themes that the kids want. For example, the mayor game, the idea is for the children, the theme is for the children to learn to play together and, engage other children and work together. That's the theme. So when this theme was needed, that's why the game arose. But how we make children that choose what game they do, in the beginning of each, a bowl with, small papers, and they pick a paper each, and they decide which warm-up game will we play. And also for the game that is, a psychodramatic game, they also choose which games to play. We either have them, each time one child, picks a paper, or they decide by consensus. So, we want to play the mayor's game, we want to play, the other game, and then they decide which game they want to play. The other third way we used was, for example, to play the same game repeatedly on several groups, so that each child has a chance to try the game twice protagonist. But we did that so long as, more children reach resolution. So when, we have lots of children who still feel that they haven't really won at this game, they still want to play it. The other children who have already won, they want to move on. So that's why we gave them. I don't know if this is clear enough.
Is it clear, Hannah? Because
the sound. Yeah, the sound was no. Yeah. So to answer you, Hannah, the short answer is they choose in many ways how to play a game and when to play the game. When to play it is different ways to choose.
I understand that the theme is that they have to play together.
That's one theme. Okay.
Yeah.
But also we allow them, for example, like, in the Shop with Magic episode in the paper, okay? So two children decide to go play together outside the group. We do not stop that. We do not stop them if they decide to do something else. We only stop them if they're disruptive or trying to attack the other children, that a type of attack that's outside the game's, procedure, okay? So they are allowed to do other things if they want to, and our job is to engage them and to try to have all the children engaged together, which is a big job. But we still allow, if somebody doesn't want to, they are totally allowed to do whatever they want.
Joshua?
And that's why we have a co-therapist for the children who go not just playing, but for the children who decide they need to cry, who feel angry, who feel bad, who need containment. We do that in the same room, but we don't force them to join the game when they can't. Some of them have problems. So but we try to keep them within the room, and if we can't, the co-therapist goes out with them if they decide they want to leave the room.
We have one more question. Joshua?
Hanan, hi.
Hi,
So excited to be here. I have two questions. Maybe you can answer, we'll have enough time to answer both, but I think the main question is, at what age of development do you think children are able to adequately role reverse? and really get something out of it. And did you get that?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, can you ask the other question as well?
More intricate, TSM, you mentioned the Tessera. You may not teach these things to the children, but do you also look for like the transition from, strengths-based, trauma-based roles to post-traumatic growth? Like, do you track them? Do you look for things like the change agent, role? Do you look for these things? Just curious whether or not you track those or you just keep it real simple.
Okay, thank you for this, Joshua. So I think, doubling works very well from very early ages, from 4 years old, children will do doubling with each other spontaneously without our asking, okay, and they accept doubling, and that's what the adults do with them as well, okay. The idea of understanding that they are in someone else's shoes is not as easy, okay. So we sometimes do it, but they don't fully realize it. I think the earliest I can see children chronologically understanding the concept of them being in other person's shoes is 7 years old, okay? But they need to be outside the concrete stage of thinking of Erickson to understand this idea that I am, like my parent, I am doing an adult role, things like that. To really realize it, it needs a bit of development. But on the other hand, Josh, even if they don't, if you try to put them in a role that is not their role, they still get a lot of it, okay? Maybe not on the emotional level, but they get a lot in the word of teaching and understanding other people. Doesn't really sink in very deep, but still helps. Okay, so it doesn't hurt at all if they try on, and that's actually what children do. So you'd see at a young child pretending to be a mother to the doll and things like that. So the children do spontaneous role reversal. Do they get it fully? Not exactly, some roles they do, some they don't, and it's a, developing process. For your other question, I actually, after learning TSM myself, I started teaching the children themselves some of the concept of the TSM. So you see here in the island game, yes, in the island game, for example, or in other games, when we have now the, the pirate ship coming. So after, the pirate ships come, that's, the trauma triangle. So we tell them, what do you do to prepare yourself when you are going to be attacked? What can you do, on the inside and the outside? So, on the outside, they're going to get weapons like Ina and Fabian did. But what do you need on the inside so that if the pirates come, what do you need to face them? And they start, speaking about it, or usually if they can't, name the emotions, we have them, body sensation, body posture. You need to do, be like this in order to face. Okay. We do look at, kids who are, trying to go into the trauma a lot when we try to pull them out of it. And we actually talk about repeating the trauma. Okay? We do not say the word triangle or trauma, but we try to simplify things as well. And when children understand the idea of getting ready and learning from what happened to them as the post-traumatic growth, that's what we call learning from what happened to you. Okay, they love it and they, start talking about it. But we need to simplify the terms. That's the only thing.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to all, and thank you to Dr. Hanan El-Mazahy again. I would like to say thank you on behalf of Psychodrama.World team. So, yeah, good evening.